Good morning and welcome to Session 6 of the Knox County Schools Career Expo. I'm Keith Wilson, Director of Career and Technical Education for the Knox County Schools. This morning we're excited to bring you a session that's going to focus in on how to create an elevator pitch, the importance of networking and relationships when you go to find a career or a job. This session is going to be brought to us by Junior Achievement, and in partnership with Junior Achievement, we're going to get to hear from Becky Spalding and Jamie Lane from Resource MFG. We're certainly excited to hear what they have to share with us this morning. I want to make a few quick announcements since today is the day that the virtual exhibit hall has opened up, and draw your attention to a few things. We've already seen a lot of activity this morning, students logging in, teachers logging in, getting engaged, looking at videos and files and things, and students are already earning points towards those prizes that we talked about in the introductory video, if you recall that. One of the ways that you can earn those points is by saving files into a digital backpack in order to look at those later. Maybe after hours you want to go back and look at something again. And that was what we instructed you to do in that introductory video. Well, as it turns out, the digital backpack is really more of a digital briefcase. So that icon you're looking for is not really the backpack as much as it is the briefcase. So just want to make that important note to you. It still works the same way. You can still save things there for later. And don't forget, you have access to the virtual exhibit hall even after hours. So this evening, tonight, if you save something or you want to share something with maybe a family member, you can go back in, log in with your same credentials, and go back and find those things that you're most interested in. Another way that you can earn points while exploring the system is to find those hidden SunSphere icons. If you've ever been downtown, you've been to the World's Fair site, you've probably seen the big tall SunSphere, the big golden globe on top of the tower. So you're looking for an icon in there that shows you that SunSphere. If you see those embedded throughout the system, click on those. That's another great way that you can earn points towards those prizes. And remember, we're going to have prizes for the top 3 point earners at every middle school, at each middle school, and that's the top 3 teachers and the top 3 students are going to be able to earn those prizes. So we encourage you to get in there, explore, look around, find things that interest you, and click on those icons, download those files, watch the videos. Those are all great ways for you to engage and to earn those points. Last announcement is sort of for the teachers. There's lots of great information to help you this week to prepare your students and to get them engaged in the different platforms and the different sessions that they might want to see. And a lot of that information was shared with you on the front end in a large Google Drive that was intended to be just for teachers. We've seen this morning that we've been getting some requests from students for access to these shared teacher folders, and we believe that may be because some of the files you guys have had, you've tried to share directly with your students. And so we would just ask that if you are sharing things from the Google Drive with your students, make sure you're first downloading that into your own files and sharing sort of a clean copy or sharing it through a different drive, as we can't have that many folks accessing that shared information for the teacher in that file. So just a note of caution there as you're sharing information with your students. Think about that in terms of how they will access it on their own devices. That's about all I have as far as an update. We hope you're enjoying the session so far, and we're very excited to bring you this next one again with Junior Achievement and Resource MFG. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Becky Spalding and this is Jamie Lane. We're with Resource MFG and we are so excited to be with you guys today and talk to you about networking and an elevator pitch and how it can help you land the perfect job. So first I want to talk to you a little bit about what is Resource MFG. So MFG stands for manufacturing. Resource MFG is an employment agency, and what we do is we work with companies in the area that do manufacturing, and we help them staff for their employees. So they could do this because maybe they need 50 employees for their manufacturing facility and they just don't have the ability to hire all those people. So that's something that we would do. We would come in and we would help them get those employees. So you may be wondering, what is manufacturing? So manufacturing is all around you. The desk you're sitting at, that was actually manufactured somewhere. The laptop that may be on your desk right now, that was manufactured somewhere. Some of the cool things that, some of the cool companies we work with that are in manufacturing is we have a company that manufactures styrofoam plates and bowls that you may see in your cafeteria. We have a company that we work for that makes the Chick-fil-A mac and cheese that you may love. We have companies that create automotive parts. So the cool key fobs that unlock your car doors, we have a company that does those as well. So basically what we do is we just help them find the best employees and put them to work. Let's talk a little bit more about us. So as again, I'm Becky Spalding. I'm the branch operations manager with Resource MFG, and my job is to oversee the team in the office. And my team does everything from handling the phone calls to interviewing and hiring on all of our associates.
So good morning, my name is Jamie Lane, and my title is Business Development Manager for Resource MFG and Pro Logistics. So my job is going out and developing and maintaining the client relationships for our offices in the Knoxville area. So we want to talk about networking today and what networking is and why you want to do that and why that's beneficial for you. So networking is simply connecting with others to share information and to develop your professional relationships. So you want to do this to grow your network, learn from others, and ultimately to gain opportunities and to share opportunities as well. So the who. So who you want to network with are recruiters, family, friends, bosses, industry leaders, teachers, coaches, and within your community. So I have a couple of examples of this for you. If you're looking to start babysitting and earning some extra money at the age that you're at now, so you would go to your family, your friends, your neighbors, people in your community, and say, hey, this is what I'm wanting to do. I can do this for you, and this is the mutual benefit. You know, later on in life or later on in your education, once you reach high school, you may decide that you have an interest in being a news anchor. So you go to your local AV school, your AV department at your school, talk with your teacher, find someone in the community that can share their experience and their process to getting into their role, and learn how you can develop your skill set to benefit others.
So as a reminder, don't forget to throw those questions in the chat box. We'd love to answer them at the end of this. So we've talked about the why do you network, we've talked about who do you network, but you also kind of want to figure out where do you do that networking. And there's a lot of great opportunities even at the 8th grade level. So for example, maybe you are interested in being a park ranger. You could go job shadow a park ranger for the day and get to understand that role. You could do a mentorship. What about social media, right? When you think about Facebook or LinkedIn is another option that's kind of more of like your professional Facebook. Those are great locations that maybe you learn that your best friend's dad works at a company you're interested in, and you can connect with them through Facebook. You could set up an opportunity to job shadow, or one of my personal favorites, which is called informational interviewing. And in an informational interview, as opposed to someone asking you the questions for a job, you're asking them questions about the job. So you could say, what's the best part of this job you're in? What do you find challenging? What skills do you need for that? And that's something that even at the 8th grade level, you guys can definitely be doing. Some other great places that you can be doing some networking, of course, career fairs, right? College fairs. So when you start having the college fairs here, that's a great opportunity to meet with recruiters at different locations. Of course, employment agency, which is exactly what Jamie and I do. An apprenticeship, which is basically like a mentorship, but you actually get to participate in the actual job itself. And of course, an elevator, right? So let's kind of talk about what is an elevator pitch. So imagine you're at some really nice hotel and you get on at the bottom level and there's Tom Holland right next to you, right? And of course we know that Tom Holland is going to that top nice suite and you only have 30 seconds to tell him whatever you need to tell him, right? Maybe it is, I want to give him this great script that I just wrote, or I want to tell him that I do not agree with the name of the new Spider-Man movie title, right? You got 30 seconds to make it happen. That's the same concept as if you were doing an elevator pitch with someone that you wanted a job with, right? So you have 30 seconds to really make that happen. And what are you going to say? You don't want to fumble over your words, right? So you want to be thinking about what that process looks like, because at the end of that 30 seconds, you really want to make sure that you're sold for that position or that internship, or you've sold that script to Tom Holland. So a couple of things you want to make sure you have, right? Name. You got to make sure you tell them your name, your first and last name, and you want to say it a couple times, right? Once at the beginning and once at the end, because if you don't, they're not going to remember who you are. You want to make sure you talk about your career interests or your goals. If you're in a particular position as is, you can talk about that position. The school you attend. So yes, you can start networking now and you can talk about the school that you go to. Maybe you're in college and you're looking for that internship opportunity. You can talk about the college that you're in. You can talk about your major if you're in school as well. You want to talk about the skills for the job that you have. And then how are you unique? This is a big one, right? How are you different from all the other people that are going to be trying to do that same networking opportunity?
So we're going to go over a few tips and give you a couple of examples of an elevator speech. First off, you want to speak clearly and confidently. You want to make eye contact. You want to use professional language. So you want to avoid slang, of course, cuss words, anything like that, professional language. You want to speak with energy. You want to be animated. You want to use that opportunity, because we all know opportunities come once sometimes and then they're gone. So you don't want to lose it. And you want to speak at a great speed. If we talk too fast, things get missed. If we talk too slow, people lose interest. And like Becky said, things that you want to do are make sure that your awards are in there, your GPA, things that you're, if you're in clubs, so on and so forth, things that grab and make you memorable. So I'm going to go over a couple of examples of a elevator pitch. I'll go over my professional one, and then one that I kind of wrote up as an example for someone high school aged. So say your name is Jake Smith, and that's just a random name I put out there. So you're looking for a marketing internship. So an example of an elevator pitch for someone in that would be, hey, my name is Jake Smith. I'm an honors student at Carnes High School with a current 4.0 GPA. I've been part of the yearbook team for 2 years, and I'm a member of DECA and have been accepted into the University of Tennessee, Knoxville for fall 2021. My goal is to obtain an internship within the marketing industry. So that's just an example for someone high school aged to start getting their name out there as they're going out meeting people and making those, life decisions as far as which direction that you want to go. So someone like myself, I have a couple different versions of an elevator pitch, and it really depends on the situation in which I'm in, and as far as which one I use. So for me, with a professional elevator pitch, I always say my name and position at the beginning and the end. And that is because when you have an audience, those are when they're the most attentive, when you very first walk up and when they know you're getting ready to go off. So they're going to pick up your name and your position. So for me, just to kind of briefly go through an example of mine, so my name is Jamie Lane, and I represent Resource MFG and Pro Logistics. And then I typically ask a question, and that is like, are you facing challenges such as turnover, a talent shortage, or missing skill sets in your workforce? I'm a workforce specialist, and I develop solutions that positively impact companies with these challenges. Pro Logistics and Resource MFG is a Best of Staffing Award winner, and we work with large companies across the country. Again, my name is Jamie Lane with Resource MFG and Pro Logistics. And I think Becky's going to give you an example of her elevator speech as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jamie provided a great example if you're with a company, right, and you're trying to sell yourself to grab more folks. So mine is just a general example of what, not necessarily with a company, but if I were just trying to sell myself for a position, right? So my name is Becky Spalding. I'm the operations manager with Resource MFG. I've been there for about 4 or 5 years. I have over 10 years of experience in recruiting for all ages and various fields, including nonprofit, higher education, and of course, manufacturing positions. I consider myself a solutions-focused leader, and I'm highly skilled in developing, implementing, and overseeing creative strategies to improve programs, processes, and positions. Were there any other additional tips you wanted to talk about?
Got it.
Perfect. So also keep in mind too that you can always ask for a business card if they have one, or if you have a business card, you're welcome to hand one of those out as well. Always make sure too that you follow up. So if you got their contact information, it's expected that you follow up with them after the fact. Thank them for their time and reiterate kind of what your game plan was. What was that goal that you were reaching out to them for? And of course, remember to practice, practice, practice. That elevator pitch does not come perfectly and easily the first time. I can tell you that I practiced numerous times.
Sometimes it doesn't come easy after the 20th time.
Absolutely. So just remember to always practice that elevator pitch. So we kept it short and sweet so you guys can ask as many questions as you need to. So we'll pass it over. Are there any questions?
It looks like we've got a couple right now, so I'll read those off and then we can just kind of answer those jointly, I guess.
Okay.
So we have, first question is, who would you talk to in order to shadow someone? How would you set that up? So I really think it's going to depend on what type of shadowing you're looking to do. You know, if you want to shadow a welder, then you need to go, you know, for example, your teachers here at Byington Solway would be able to direct you into someone that you could shadow. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different options, right? First, Jay made a great point. Start with your teachers, start with the school, because they have a lot of really great connections that you may not be aware of. The other place that I would say is talk with your parents. They may have a LinkedIn account, and that may be another location. I know that when I did informational interviewing, I used LinkedIn a lot, and I found companies of interest that were in the nonprofit field at the time and was able to connect with someone that way to do an informational interviewing. And what you want to do is once you figure out who that connection is, you can call, you can write an email, and it's very much like your elevator pitch, and you explain kind of what you're doing and what you're interested in. If you do an email, I would always say follow up with, do you have a couple of minutes to discuss this over the phone? What does your availability look like? You always want to try to end up on a phone call or in an in-person situation with them because you'll feel more like your natural self versus just a formal email.
So we've actually got a couple questions. So I'm
Great,
super
that's
excited
great.
about that. Yeah, no. So what sort of questions do people ask you at a job interview? There's all kinds of questions that they can ask. I think one of the most common ones is, what makes you a fit for this position? Why should we choose you over someone else? There's also, and Becky has a ton of these, I'm sure that she can share, but decision-making questions, like what's important to you, or how was your attendance at your last job? What would your prior employer tell us about you? So I'm going to have Becky kind of go over a few more examples that she can think of.
Yes, so I love behavioral questions. I think you get so much more out of behavioral questions than anything else. So one of my favorite questions I go to when I'm interviewing colleagues to work in my branch is, tell me about a time that you had a problem that you had to solve and how did you solve it? Tell me about a time that you failed. And what I'm looking for is not a major failure, but how did you solve the problem, right? Because we're all going to fail at some point in time in the position. It's how did you work through that? So I'm really looking for how did you work through those problems. I also love the question similar to what are your strengths and what I call areas of growth. I hate the word challenges or weaknesses, but I will love to say, tell me what your areas of growth would be. And that allows them to, once again, kind of think outside the box and say, what is something I know I'm not really great at, but I can improve on? And that's what I'm looking for too. We don't expect the perfect person to walk in the door, but it's someone who has the opportunity to grow and understand what they need to grow in and be a big impact on the team.
Perfect. All right. So another question, and I happen to love this one, so you'll be excited about this one too, I think. But tell me about your career path. How did you get to where you are today? I have a very interesting path, and it actually started here. I'm a graduate from Carnes High School. I was part of the cosmetology program at Byington Solway. So worked my way through college, actually working in a salon with a lot of the hours that I gained here from Byington Solway. From that, graduated college with my bachelor's degree in business management and went into distributorship sales for high-end beauty products. So very different. You don't hear that every day. So I spent a lot of my career in that. Hit a point because I'm big on education. I love education. Decided to go on and get my graduate degree. So worked through that and worked, and then decided with my graduate degree, my degree is in talent development. So this was a natural fit for me moving into the Resource MFG and Pro Logistics brand. So I have a different background that all started here at Byington Solway.
That's great. And I think what's also great is mine's kind of similar in that I did not start out in this field, and that's very normal for a lot of things you go into. Most 8th graders don't know exactly what they're going into, right? Even if you get to college. So I changed my major about
and
3
that's okay.
times. Yeah, I
okay.
changed my major
definitely.
about 3 times in college before I graduated with a degree in psychology. And then I started working at a career center down in South Carolina, the military college that's called the Citadel. And I found that I loved what I was doing. So basically what I did was I gave presentations on how to write a resume and how to network, how to present yourself. I did informational interviewing and things like that. So I spent some time there, and I went to another college across the country in Seattle that was similar in that I was doing some career development and but also some recruiting as well. So recruiting is part of career development, and I loved it just as much. So when I moved back, I knew I wanted to stay in that career services type of role, and I kind of fell into this role. Funny enough, because I was interviewing for a general position at Resource MFG. So I actually met with one of my colleagues that is now one of my colleagues. So it was really cool. As I watched her interview me, I thought, well, I think I could do that. I think I would enjoy doing that. And so I applied for a position to work alongside her. And then that's kind of how I started out in a recruiter role and then moved up into some additional roles. And now I'm at the branch manager level.
All right. So what is the most important part of an elevator pitch? I'm going to say your differentiators. What makes you different and what makes you stand out?
I agree. I would say what makes you different, because that really is how you sell yourself at the end of the day, that you want them to go home and say, I remember so-and-so. That and your name. Your name is very important. Don't ever forget your name.
Yeah. So what would be a great way to start your elevator pitch? I think it's just like when you write a paper. And really it depends on how your brain thinks and how it processes. But I would start with making out bullet points of, what content you want to add, like maybe your GPA, what your goals are, your experiences. I would bullet point it and then just make it like a concise statement and then practice it and move things around as you need to.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah, absolutely. Write it down first. It's a lot easier because you may write down 6 to 10 different bullet points and think, oh, wait, hold up, that's way too long. Let me shorten it. And then practice it. And don't just practice it with yourself. Practice it with your parents. They can give you some great tips. Practice it with your teachers. I know I keep saying it, but practice makes perfect. I know I had to say my elevator pitch numerous times just on the way over here to make sure I had landed that. So definitely start with just writing it down so you become more comfortable with it, and then practice it so it just kind of flows out.
So the next question is, how do you know who to elevator pitch to? So that's, I guess, situational. If you're looking for, let me have you start that one. Let me think on that one for a second.
Honestly, you can do your elevator pitch with anybody, right? So you may have someone in particular that you want to do the elevator pitch with, and to figure out who that particular person is, like I said, talk to your teachers, talk to your coaches is another great resource. Talk to your parents, your friends' parents to figure out, is there a particular field or person I want to do my elevator pitch with? But really, once you've kind of mastered it, you can really deliver it to anyone. So if you are in line at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks and you start having a conversation with the person in front of you, you naturally start talking kind of about yourself, and they tell you what they're doing and you tell them what you're doing. So you may have a particular person or field that you're interested in, but once you've mastered that elevator pitch, you'd be amazed at how often you use it. I know I've used mine numerous times, just in random situations and scenarios, maybe with my daughter's parents, right? So once you have it down, you can go anywhere with it.
Are there any jobs that you cannot shadow? Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And I think the answer to this really depends on your age, your experience, your background. Anything high risk, you in your youth, you cannot job shadow. And that would be, I don't know, a crane operator, anything that is high risk that puts you physically in a bad situation. Also, as in the high school age, the likelihood of being able to job shadow a surgeon is probably unlikely. But as you get, if that's the career path you're looking for, as you gain knowledge, as you get older, those opportunities will become available.
Yep, I would say that. And then anything that has a security clearance really high top information, you probably couldn't job shadow like a CIA, for example. But what you can still do in those instances where you can't job shadow right away is you can still do those informational interviews. It's still a great opportunity to have them open up about their position and what they enjoy doing, and they will be really honest what those challenges of the position would be as well. So if you can't necessarily job shadow, especially at this age, for something like high-risk positions or positions that have some type of security clearance or anything with highly classified information, you can still definitely do those informational interviews, and they'll give you as much information as they are allowed to give you.
So the next one, I think we've got a few more questions here, is what could someone do to get connections to become an actor? I don't know the answer to that.
That's a great question. No, so I
didn't even know who Tom Holland was, so I can't really help with that.
She doesn't watch her Marvel movies. Okay, great question. So the first place is you better be in those acting classes now. You better be on the stage. If you're interested in being an actor, you could actually reach out to me as well. I actually have a couple of friends who are in New York City. I've got one who is on Broadway. So that's a great, in acting, what you really want to do is start young to develop those experiences. And if that's something you're interested in pursuing in college, and be ready to travel. If anything I have learned from my acting friends is they do a lot of traveling to go where the job is. I've had several that ended up on cruise ships. I've got one who sings for Disney World. So start with developing your acting skills, and then start finding other actors. And there's a lot of acting guilds and associations that you can be a part of. I hope that answers that one.
I think so. So there's two more questions I'd really like to get to if we have time. But what kind of jobs do you recommend for someone that's non-social?
Oh,
I think that's a great question.
Yes.
And I think that is any job, any career. It has to match your skill set and your personality. If you're not a social person, sales is not the route you want to go. It may be more something programming or numeric, and non-social can mean different things to different people.
Yeah, I have a great example for that one, actually. So one of my colleagues, we had her in a very forward-facing, client-facing role, and she was uncomfortable constantly being in front of people. We moved into a remote recruiting role, so she's constantly on the phone and talking to people, but she's not a social person, so it makes her feel more comfortable because she can have all those skills listed and all the questions right in front of her. So a lot of positions can be for someone who's non-social. Do some career inventory, some assessments, and don't go into acting.
So there's a few questions that we did not get to that we are more than glad to answer for you guys, but we are wrapping it up today. We're about out of time. So these few questions that we didn't get, we will definitely get answers to you for them.
Absolutely. Thank you all. We appreciate it.
Thank you.